Welcome to our third tutorial on getting started with programming for your robotics team. In this case, we will be focusing on downloading the necessary software and drivers needed to program your machine. What I will cover is also available in the programming manual along with this video and can be found within the video description. We'll be getting started with the IDE that we will be using, WPILib. WPIlib is the official software used for FRC programmers and is essentially a modified version of VS Code. WPIlib can be downloaded from GitHub, where I will have a link attached in the description that you can use. Once you've downloaded the WPIlib package, unzip the files and proceed to click on the WPIlib installer executable. Windows will at first react by claiming that the executable is a virus, but simply click on More Info and then click Run. Don't worry, WPIlib is not malware. The first thing you should see is a menu option window that asks if you want to install WPIlib for current user or for multiple users. If you're using a school computer, it is best to install just for current user, since the program will ask for the administrative password to the computer. From there, install VS Code on your machine from WPIlib. If you have any existing version of VS Code, you can select the installation file from wherever you downloaded it. After that, click on the checkboxes for Gradle, Visual Studio Code, Java, JDK/JRE, and the C++ compiler, but only if you're using C++ instead of Java. Then finally, click on the executable, the execute or download button at the bottom, and wait for the program to install. You will know when it's done when the executable displays a message indicating a successful installation. Well, congratulations on making it this far. You're halfway there. Next, we're going to install Git Extensions, which is essentially a GUI version of Git Bash. Now, to install Git Extensions, you're going to want to go to the official page in GitHub, which I will again post in the description. And just follow the same installation procedure as shown again on screen. Now, if you want a tutorial on how to set up Git Extensions, there's a tutorial for that as well on my channel, albeit the quality is not as good. Next up, the National Instruments Software Manager. This one may be the trickiest of all, so be sure to pay attention. The first step is to go to the NI site where you can download FRC game tools. Again, I will have all links to downloads mentioned in the description. FRC game tools will come in a nice packet that contains drivers and firmware to the Roborio, driver station, and lab view. Now, from the site, we want to choose the latest version of FRC game tools. For me in this case, that is the year 2020. Oh, and sorry to those Linux users watching. NI doesn't seem to like Linux users, but I'm sure you can still get away with wine. Next, click download, and there you are. Now, you just need to install it through the same routine. Click on the executable, run the wizard, be sure to read the agreement, if anyone even does that anymore. Install the package manager, install, then go through the package manager wizard. Read the agreement, turn off fast startup, and finally, install. Now, you should see two windows pop up on your desktop, following the installation of the package manager. But you can simply just ignore these for now, as it's not that important. I just happen to know this because previous programmers from our team also simply just ignore them. Now, for the hardest part, rebooting the machine. Once that process is done, we can go to our desktop and find a few familiar tools. The Roborio imaging tool will allow you to configure and update your Roborio module, while the FRC driver station will allow you to actually drive your robot. Finally, the last few items you need to install are the dependencies and drivers for your motors and hardware. We'll start with the Limelight. You know, these blinding things. Navigate to the official Limelight page and download the Limelight Finder tool. This will have a rather simple installation sequence, so there isn't much to discuss. Now we just need to install the Limelight dependencies, starting with Bonjour. Bonjour will allow you to connect your computer to the Limelight more smoothly by providing a multicast domain name system, or MDNS, to communicate between the PC and the Limelight. The installation procedure is rather basic, and you should just be able to perform it again yourself. Again, it's just default settings. Next, we're going to install Balena Etcher, which is an ISO imaging tool. The reason why we need such software is so that we can flash new firmware to the Limelight device. Proceed to run the executable, and that's all. There's no wizard that you have to go through. Lastly, we just need to install the USB drivers for the Limelight in order for us to connect it to our PC. This is another simple installation where you simply need to run the executable, read the agreement, and let the wizard do its thing. If the installation didn't make it obvious enough, the Limelight is really just a glorified Raspberry Pi. Anyways, that's all the Limelight stuff. Now we just need to do motor controllers. Now, there are many different types of motor controllers that FRC teams use. One motor controller that is becoming widely adopted is the Rev Robotics SparkMax motor controller, since it is compatible with a new motor called Neo, a brushless DC motor that is currently selling like hotcakes. The other two most common motor controllers are the Talon SRX motor controllers and the Victor SPX motor controllers. While these are older motor controllers, they still do work well and can be connected with many different sim DC motors. Like every season, last year's hot stuff is this year's not stuff. If you are using a CTRE device, i.e. Victor SPX or Talon SRX or some other equivalent produced by the company, you're going to want to first start by installing the Phoenix Tuner. Phoenix Tuner is a driver manager for doing things like checking the health and firmware of your CTRE motor controllers. Start by heading over to the CTRE electronics website and navigating over to the product section. Once there, click on the Control System in the category section to the left. Click on Motor Control, click on the motor controller you will be using, then click on the Tech Resources tab on the item description, and you should see a download link for both Phoenix Tuner and the latest firmware for the motor controller. You only need to download Phoenix once, but you will have to update the motor controllers with their specific firmware. We'll start with the Phoenix Tuner installation procedure. First, click on the Phoenix Tuner download link, where it will take you to another product called the Hero Development Board. Click on the latest CTRE Phoenix Framework installer to download. Once you've downloaded the zip file, extract the executable and proceed to run. Windows might first freak out and claim that the application is malware, but just click on More Info and click Run anyway. A common issue with Windows is that it tends to do nothing when you download actual malware, but goes on full red alert when you're downloading official applications. Anyways, the first thing you should see is another familiar download wizard. Proceed to click Next and do the usual. Click Next. Leave the checkboxes as they are by default, but click on the LabVIEW checkbox if you have LabVIEW. Read the two licenses, and finally, let the thing install. Now that we have Tuner installed, we need to incorporate its drivers into WPILib. We do this by opening VS Code and creating a new project or opening an existing one. Once a new or existing project has been opened, navigate to the bottom of the left menu and click on the expand arrow of your project tree until you find build.gradle. Right-click on build.gradle, and within the taskbar, select Manage Vendor Libraries. Now presented with the list, select Install New Libraries for offline. You then should be able to select CTRE Phoenix, and then click on OK for VS Code to install that library. If asked if you want to build the dependencies, click Yes. You should then be able to select libraries for either Java or C++. This will allow you to access CTRE's libraries for your programs. Now, for teams that are using SparkMax motor controllers, you need to install a separate client in order to program them. First, navigate over to the Rev Robotics SparkMax software resources site and click on Download the latest SparkMax client. Once the download is complete, run the executable and wait for the installation to complete. You may get a pop-up from Windows claiming they protected your PC, but again, just click on More Info and click Run Anyway. While the installer is running, you may also get another pop-up from Windows Defender that blocks certain features of the application. Click on Allow Access in order for the application to have internet access to the RoboRio. Don't worry, Robotics will not harm your machine. It is not malware. Once the Robotics client has been installed, you then need to install libraries for the motor controllers in order to program them. Head back to the Robotics Spark Max site, scroll down, and download the latest API for Java or C++. In my case, it will be Java. We need to download the libraries into the vendor library within WPILib. This location can be found within C, Users, Public, WPILib, the year of its install, and vendor deps. Once you've downloaded the file, you then need to unzip the file in that location, specifically the JSON file within vendor deps. Finally, you just need to go into WPILib and install the libraries in the same manner as I've showed before. Right-click on build.gradle, select Manage Vendor Libraries, and install the Robotics library. That is all for now. You should be able to go about your way without much of a problem. And if you have any questions or concerns, or your setup didn't work, please let me know in the comments. Thank you.